Hello. Today I want to read you something from one of my favorite people, Madame Jeanne Guyon. A very nice lady, a spiritual lady who lived around 1700 in France. And she was a very nice lady, very spiritual. She wrote several books. Her most well-known one is called A Short and Easy Method of Prayer. It's also had other titles like Finding God Through Prayer or Experiencing the Depths of Jesus Christ. There's been various translations. Today I want to read you from one that's called Spiritual Progress, a very nice nicely literal translation from the 1800s. It's in the public domain. It's called Spiritual Progress, and I want to read to you about quietude, about why you have to get out of your thoughts. You have to recollect. You have to pull back, withdraw from being involved in your thoughts. You know how you get pulled into daydreams and thinking about the past and remembering what happened and reliving it over and over again, or about worrying about the future, or just daydreaming away. There's a tendency for humans to do that. But it's not a place where you want to be. Now you can't stop yourself from and you don't want to. You don't want to stop yourself from thinking, or even stop yourself from daydreaming, or thinking about the past or the future. You can't stop yourself. But what you can do is learn to observe thought instead of being involved in it. See? Observe it instead of being involved in it. It's like sitting on the bank of a river and watching the river flow by, like watching your thoughts. Observing your thoughts from a neutral place. There's a big difference between sitting on the bank of the river and watching the river flow by and jumping into the water and floating downstream toward the rapids. See the difference? Okay. And the example, a very good one, is that if you're deeply into your thoughts, like let's say you're in a nightmare, and in your nightmare somebody's chasing you and it's all scary and you're screaming, and then you wake up and then you see that it was just a dream. Okay? It wasn't reality, it was unreality. Okay? Well, okay. What do they say? That 99% of the things we worry about never happen anyway. They say that, okay? Well, people spend a lot of time worrying and fantasizing and daydreaming, and it becomes an escape. But you know what it's an escape from? It's an escape from reality, where God is, from the present, the eternal now, where God is. So let me read you this from Madame Guyon. This is chapter 13, on rest before God. In other words, the chapter is about rest before God. The soul, advanced thus far, in other words, in the practice of this type of prayer, or let's call it meditation, the soul advanced thus far has no need of any other preparation than its quietude. For now the presence of God during the day, which is the great effect, or rather continuation of prayer, begins to be infused and almost without intermission. The soul certainly enjoys transcendent blessedness and finds that God is more intimately present to it than it is to itself. Okay, so let's break that down. So now the soul that has learned, for example, that you've gotten my meditation, which teaches you how to stand back from thoughts, stand back from emotions, to get a little bit of mental distance, okay, where you're not lost in daydreams, but you're a little bit closer to God. You're in reality. You're in the present moment. Okay. Now, it says the soul has no need for any other preparation than its quietude. Just being still. See, the problem is your soul is lost in thoughts. You're pulled into thoughts, and you go round and round and round and round with the thoughts. Whenever you start to think about something, have you ever noticed a little bit of anxiety? Today, what was I thinking about? I think I was thinking about a bill I had to pay, or No, it's someone I had to call. Someone I had to call for part of, just routine business type of stuff. But I had to call them, and I started to anticipate that call, and thinking about what I was going to say, and I felt a little bit anxiety over it. Anytime we take to thought, okay, we feel anxiety because that's not the proper home for the soul. Okay, that's not the proper abode for the soul. The soul is supposed to abide in God's presence, in the present, in the presence, in the present, in the presence, in the present. Okay, it doesn't mean that we don't think. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that we should get close to God, and then closer to God, you're a little bit distant. You're a little bit detached from those rabbit thoughts of yours, okay? And that little bit of detachment, not going round and round and round with thoughts, but being still, that's where the soul finds peace, okay? And when you go out into the world, you'll have that little bit of distance. You'll take that with you, that little bit of detachment. So like I've always said, you'll still go out, you'll go to work, you'll go to school, you'll talk to your friends, you'll be a husband or a wife or a son or daughter or partner or neighbor, and you'll have recreation, and you'll do all the things that you do. But you just won't get so deeply into them. You won't be pulled into them. You won't be pulled into thoughts, you won't be pulled into arguments, you won't be pulled into getting too involved in things, too emotionally involved. You'll always be able to something will remind you to take a little step back, okay? To have a little bit of detachment. It's very good, very healthy. You had that when you were a little child before you were upset. Now let's continue. He said that the soul has no need for any other preparation other than its quietude. For now the presence of God during the day, which is the great effect, or rather continuation of prayer. So she's saying that when you practice this, which is basically like if you use my meditation, now you're pulled back a little bit from your involvement in thoughts, and now you're a little closer to God. Okay, so the presence of God, being in the moment, in the present moment, okay, in the eternal now, closer to God. That's the effect, okay? Or the continuation of this type of she calls it a prayer, I call it meditation. Doesn't matter what you call it. It's not a thing of words. It's a thing of finding stillness for the soul. Begins to be infused and almost without intermission. The soul certainly enjoys transcendent blessedness and finds that God is more intimately present to it than it is to itself. The only way to find Him, in other words, the only way to find God, is by introversion. No sooner do the bodily eyes close than the soul is wrapped in prayer. See, that's a beautiful, beautiful phrase, sentence. Okay. No sooner do the bodily eyes close than the soul is wrapped in prayer. It is amazed at so great a blessing and enjoys an internal converse which external matters cannot interrupt. Okay, so with my meditation, you close your eyes, okay, and you observe the inside of your eyelids. You observe the little bit of light, the particles of light, the warm glow of light, the little pixels of light on the inside of your eye. You watch them, you observe them, you see them. You observe the inside of your eyelids, and at the same time you become aware of your hands. Okay, your hands begin to feel a little bit tingly. Okay, and you actually, when you do that, you are now closer to God. Your soul is still, not swirling around with thoughts. It's still. Okay, and she says the soul is wrapped in prayer. Now you understand what Paul meant when he said we should pray without ceasing. See, it's like an attitude. It's like a mental space. It's like a space that you find, a meditation space, a prayer space. Okay, you find a little space see, which is actually outside of time. Okay? And you become aware of your hands. They begin to feel a little bit tingly, a little warm. And you feel quieted. And you observe the inside of your eyelids. When you do that, you're not lost in thoughts. See? And you practice that. And then when you find that state, that meditative state, then after that you can have it always. It's nice to reinforce it. First thing in the morning, midday, and in the evening. Or at other times, just to close your eyes and do it for even a minute or two. It's nice to reinforce it. But you'll have that state, and it will become your guide and your protection. Later, then when you find yourself getting lost in thought, you'll notice it. Something, see, which the meditation brought you to that space. Something will make you aware that you're lost in thought, and you snap out of it, and you're no longer lost in thought. You're back in the present moment again. See how that works. Okay? Or you're out in the world, and all of a sudden you're getting pulled into music, and then all of a sudden you notice that, and you step back a little bit. You're out in the world, and somebody's coming along, and they're bringing all kinds of stuff, and troubles, and worries, and confusions, and there they are talking, and then you step back a little bit. See? You don't get pulled in. See? Well, I think I've done enough for today. How long is this now? 11 minutes and 40 seconds. I think that's enough. It's a very beautiful passage. I really like it. I like Madame Guyon a lot. See, she gets it. Okay? That's what you need to do. You need to get it. You need to practice it. Then you need to have it. Then you can help others. You'll be a better mom, dad, husband, wife. See? My name is Roland.